Did you know that missing just the best 10 days in the stock market over a 20-year period can cut your total returns by more than half? And many people end up missing those days because they wait for the perfect moment to invest. An uncomfortable truth is that many people who are waiting for that perfect moment are quietly costing themselves their future wealth, but with one simple shift, can avoid becoming part of those worrying statistics. So let's be honest from the start. Many people don't fail with money because they're reckless. They fail because they overthink. This is the Big Daddy's Big Tips podcast, the daily podcast for people who are tired of feeling like they should be doing better with money, but somehow never quite feel confident enough to do anything about it. This isn't a podcast about get rich quick schemes or about secret strategies, and it's definitely not pretending that the financial world is simple. You see, most people don't struggle because they lack information. They struggle because fear, noise, and hesitation quietly delay any action. And delay can be very expensive. Because life doesn't change with one very perfectly timed decision. It changes because of what you do consistently over time. That's true for your health, it's true for your happiness, and it's absolutely true for your money. Every day, you make small financial decisions. Whether you invest, whether you wait, whether you sit in cash, whether you react to headlines, whether you tell yourself that you'll start soon. Each of those decisions creates a ripple. Some ripples quietly compound in your favor, others quietly compound against you. And the dangerous thing about financial ripples is that you don't feel them at first. Nothing seems to happen, no alarms go off, but years later, the gap between acting early and hesitating becomes painfully obvious. Where you are financially today is not random. It's the result of the financial ripples you've been creating so far. Now, that's not blame in any way, it's an opportunity. Because if hesitation created this position, consistency can create another one. And this is where daily wins come in. A daily win with money is rarely exciting. It doesn't make headlines and it doesn't feel clever, but it does work. And here's the part that most people miss. Your financial decisions are heavily influenced by the state of your nervous system. When you're tired, when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, you default to avoidance. You wait, you delay, you hope clarity will magically arrive. When your vessel is calm and regulated, decisions become easier. You act earlier, you stick to the plan, you stop reacting emotionally to outside noise. This podcast exists to reduce the friction in your body, in your thinking, and in your systems so that better decisions become easier to make. And we do that by working across our health, wealth, and happiness simultaneously, not separately, because they are already connected, whether you like it or not. And each tip you hear from me is going to be deliberately very simple because the simple things are the repeatable things, and the repeatable things are what actually change our lives. So don't look for the perfect moment today. Look for a better direction. Okay, so let's move on to talking about today's tip because it's one of the most important mindset shifts you can make when it comes to building long-term wealth. And today's tip is that the time you spend in the market always beats trying to time the market. This single idea explains why ordinary investors quietly outperform clever ones who hesitate. It's a trap many people fall into. They believe that successful investing is about waiting for the perfect moment, the dip, the crash, the clear signal. They tell themselves they'll invest once things feel safer, or calmer, or more certain. But markets don't care. Markets don't reward certainty, they reward participation. The best days in the market often come immediately after the worst days, and those days are impossible to predict in advance. By the time things feel safe again, prices have usually already recovered. So when people try to time the market, what actually happens? They miss the rebound. They sit in cash, while inflation just continues to eat away at any value they have left. They watch from the sidelines while compounding happens without them participating. And the cost isn't obvious in year one, but it will show up in year 10. And this is why time in the market matters so much. Because compounding doesn't care about your entry point nearly as much as it cares about how long your money stays invested. The longer your money is working, the more powerful the compounding effect becomes. That is a real advantage. So let me put it simply. Someone who invests consistently for 20 years, even starting in a bad time, almost always ends up better off than someone who waits 5 years for the perfect moment, because those 5 lost years never come back. You see, this tip isn't about ignoring risk, it's about understanding where the real risk lives. And the biggest pattern for most people isn't even market volatility, the ups and the downs, it's hesitation. This is where daily wins apply to our money. A daily win with investing might look like setting up a monthly automated investment, or increasing a contribution you make to your ISA slightly, or investing despite the uncomfortable headlines, or staying invested instead of reacting emotionally. These actions don't feel or look or sound dramatic, but they quietly build momentum, and momentum matters because investing is as much emotional as it is mathematical. When you invest regularly, you remove decision making from the equation. You stop asking, is now the right time? And start saying, this is just what I do each month. And a shift like that can change everything. So let's look at how this ripples out across your health, wealth, and happiness. For your wealth, time in the market allows compounding to work. It reduces the impact of bad timing and of emotional decisions. Over decades, consistency beats cleverness almost every single time. As far as your health is concerned, financial stress is one of the biggest drivers of chronic stress. Having a clear automated investment approach reduces anxiety, decision fatigue, and constant financial rumination. As far as your happiness is concerned, confidence comes from having a plan that you trust. When you stop reacting to noise and start trusting process, you feel calmer. You feel more in control and more optimistic about the future. There's also an identity shift here. When you prioritize time in the market, you stop seeing yourself as someone who's waiting to start, and you start seeing yourself as an investor, and that identity changes behavior automatically. You stay consistent. You ride volatility. You ride the waves, the ups, the downs. You let time do the heavy lifting. So don't wait for certainty. Choose consistency instead. And before I go, I'd like to slow the pace down just for a moment, because the biggest mistake people make after hearing something like this is to feel pressure to act perfectly, to feel like they need to get everything right immediately. That pressure leads straight back to even more hesitation. Because real progress doesn't come from urgency, it comes from momentum. Momentum is built from small, repeatable actions that you actually keep, not the ones you plan to do someday in the future. The ones you set up and let run quietly in the background of your life are the ones that will carry you in the direction you want to go in. Every small promise you keep with yourself builds trust, and trust changes behavior with money, with health, and with how you show up day to day. This is why health, wealth, and happiness are not separate conversations within BDBT. They're different expressions of the same system. Improve the system, and everything else downstream will improve with it. If you'd like a way to make that momentum visible, you can always download your free copy of Big Daddy's Foundation Blueprint. It's not a challenge or a program, it's just a simple structure to help you track your daily wins and spot your daily drifts. And it also helps you see how small actions begin to stack across your health, wealth, and happiness. You can find it in the show notes below, on my website, or via the link in my bio on Instagram. So if today's episode has helped reframe how you may think about investing, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's been waiting for the right time for years on end, because that is how ripple effects spread. Now, take this clarity with you, not as pressure, but simply as direction, because direction, when repeated daily, always wins. I end each episode by asking you a question that you can answer in the comments below, and today's question is this. Knowing that time in the market matters more than perfect timing of the market, what one small step could you take this week to let compounding start working for you and your future self? Have a think about it. Let me know what springs to mind in the comments below, because I'd love to hear from you. Big love, Big Daddy.